Welcome, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here for episode 2 of MEX Talks. Edgar? Thank you. As you can see, you were probably wondering why Star Wars. One, because I'm a sci-fi fan, so I guess I've just publicly outed myself. But also because really, as we were planning this event for this year, as Alba said, last year we talked about a number of areas. It was our inaugural MEX Talks, and we wanted to sort of give a smorgasbord of the various issues that affect, impact, and have been impacted by Mexicans and Mexican Americans here in Chicago. So this year we decided we were going to take a deeper dive on one of those topics, political empowerment, given what's been going on in the city and the state and the country over the last 365 days. And as we were talking about the theme of Mexican political empowerment, we wanted to figure out, well, how do we package that? And I believe it was Adrian Soto, I don't know if Adrian's here, as one of the committee members, came up with the idea, hey, do you remember the movie A Day Without a Mexican? Yep. Well, it was that idea that gave birth to the theme for tonight, what if every Mexican voted? Instead of being a negative, eliminating us, we're talking about actually having us participate more fully. So it was with that movie theme in mind that I decided to use this grandiose theme of Star Wars, because it is that chapter, a story that tells of rebels and it tells of oppression, and ultimately there's what? The Jedi return and everything is good. So it's got that positive story at the end. And as tough as it is for us as Mexicans here, the story of our community is going to be a happy ending. And I know some of you have asked, why do we just say Mexicans? Well, first of all, when we say Mexican, we mean Mexicans, Mexican Americans, anyone of any Mexican descent, but we put Mexican up there because it's easier than putting an asterisk and saying, even though those of us are lawyers would like to see the footnote in the small print. But also, we chose and continue to choose to speak about Mexicans, not in a way to segregate or to denigrate or to in any way push away any of the other Latino communities that are also here in Chicago and throughout the nation flourishing in their own right. But just like the Puerto Rican community is proud of its heritage and its accomplishments, just like the Colombian community and all the other Latino ethnicities are proud, we as Mexicans should be proud of that. And by exploring our accomplishments, by exploring our challenges, and by working together as a Mexican community in the broadest sense of the word on making those opportunities successes, we are not excluding. We are looking to see how we, as the largest ethnic group of Latinos in the United States of America, can use that size, that power, and make this country a better place. Just as we have since the beginning of this country, just as we have at this very moment, and just as we will when we become the majority population in the United States of America. And it will happen. And I know last year, those of you who were here saw that I had a magic bag of props. You're probably wondering, where's Marty's props? Well, I do have my magic bag of props, but I have even something more special this year. I've got a special assistant who's going to help me with that, my son, Máximo Castro Rioja. Come on, Maxi. You put it down. So, in keeping with this theme that we just saw, and the fact that we have been such a growing community, the Mexican community, Latino community broadly, but again, we're 70% or more of the Latino population, depending on where you look in this country. Certainly here in Chicago and Illinois, we are the overwhelming largest number of Latinos, we as of Mexican descent. And we see that these companies are marketing to us. They're trying to sell everything from t-shirts that really take our culture and make it mainstream, or try to take over and covet our property. Here's a really cool t-shirt, which I think some of you saw on Facebook. It's Darth Vader, but in the form of a Dia de los Muertos skull. And it says, Yo soy tu padre. Yo soy tu padre. And by the way, I got one for each of the boys, so, and for Dad. But this is cool, isn't it? That's because they want us to spend our dollars. And boy, do we as Mexicans spend our dollars. We are the biggest consumers of so many things. And we are the most loyal consumers of many things. We have, in movies, for example, when you go to a theater, the number of Latinos, and again, when I say Latino, 70% of those are Mexicans. The number of Latinos and Mexicans that are going now to the movie theaters is the fastest growing population. 17% Latinos, 34% of the movie-going population. We are overrepresented in the consumption of media. We are overrepresented in the use of digital media and the consumption of that, and iPads and iPhones. We are also overrepresented in other areas of consumerism. We are the best consumers and the most loyal consumers. What we're not consuming enough of, unfortunately, as Mexicans, is consumption of the democratic process. We need to spend as much money, time, and effort involved in democracy and civics as we are in going to the movies, going to concerts, buying gym shoes, buying cool t-shirts. And you know what? Though we spend the money because they make all kinds of products for us because they want that dollar. They want that Mexican dollar. I was at Target buying this t-shirt, and there was a Mexican section. And here's Ortega taco shells, right? The Ninja Turtles. They know that our community is going to buy this because we are consumers not only of these other things, but of Latino products. Not just Latino, Mexican. There's a whole Mexican section at Target. Yet, when you look at the landscape, beyond just the consumer goods, you don't see us represented like you see us represented at the aisles at Target and Walmart and all these other places. So these gentlemen here and this lady are important to the history that we're going to talk about. I will give anyone who can guess who these people are one of these t-shirts. So who's that lady up in the corner? Does anyone know? All right, well, you win, Juan, but you're... But that's right, Irene Hernandez. Give me a large one, mijo, please. and there you go. Yes, it's Juan. Thank you, Juan. Okay, who is the gentleman in the middle with the mustache and the dapper suit? No more, Juan. Once you win a t-shirt, who is that? No. Good guess, though, the mustache, right? Anybody? Anybody? No? Okay, Max, fling it out there. Oops. I think you might have to make it into a ball. There you go. There you go, yeah. And who is the gentleman above? Who said that first? Okay. Okay, who else said it from the audience? How about not a speaker? Did anyone else say it? If not, then Larry gets it. Over there, mijo. Oh, what she said? Okay, go over there, mijo. And who is, well, what's his name? Who said that? Okay, Martin, you get a t-shirt. Now, those four people were the first Latino elected officials in Chicago and in Illinois in the 1970s and 80s. Irene Hernandez, Cook County Commissioner, Justice David Serta, who was elected ultimately as the first Latino running county-wide, Arturo Velazquez Jr., who was elected at the time the University of Illinois Board of Trustees was elected, not appointed by governor, and my dad, Ray Castro, the first Latino ward committeeman in the history of Illinois. Each of these were history, and each and every one of those four people were Mexican. They reflected the population of Chicago. They reflected the political empowerment of the oldest and largest population of Hispanics in the city. And a lot of their success was due to this gentleman. Who knows this person who's not a speaker or a... All right. Give her a t-shirt. Arturo Velasquez, father of art. Arturo started an organization called the Mexican American Democratic Organization, MODEL. And this was at the time of the original Mayor Daley. So no politics happened in this town without Mayor Daley's blessing. As some of you remember, Daley had told my dad he couldn't run because Mexicans didn't vote. So my dad waited till he died and ran and beat Daley's own hand-picked candidate. But Arturo Velasquez created a political organization of Mexicans and Mexican Americans, business owners, civic leaders, community activists, the church. And he helped get these folks elected because they were unified. Such that in the early, I'd say late 70s, early 80s, we started to see white candidates coming to our neighborhoods in South Chicago, Pilsen, Little Village, asking for our votes, wanting to come and tell us about how much they knew about us. And I vividly recall an event my dad took me to when I was probably as old as little Maximo here. And this candidate, I think he was running for judge, came to us in South Chicago and said, "Oh, my friends, my amigos, I'm here to tell you I'm running for judge, and I want your vote. I come here today to break taco with you." He said that, break taco with you. You know, break bread? I guess he didn't think we ate bread. Although now tortillas outsell bread, by the way. To break taco. And even as a kid, I realized, you know what, that guy doesn't know who we are. Do you think he could come and pretend to know us by saying, "I'm going to eat one of these, so you should vote for me"? But that was the caliber. That was the mentality of the people who were seeking our votes. You want some? And you know what? Yes, it's become more sophisticated today, but we still have a lot of that. People still come and try to say, "amigos for," or get up and say, "Hola, aquí estoy." You don't have to do that to try to connect to the Mexican community. What you need to do is know the issues that are important to us. Education, economic development. Yes, immigration, but we're not one-trick ponies. We care about health care. We care about everything Americans care about. And that's what we started talking about last year. And to do that, we need to get more involved. Now, this is a retrospective of 5 decades of Time magazine. And every decade, for the last 5 decades, Time magazine has said we, Latinos, and again, 70% Mexicans, Mexican Americans, we are, in 1978, the minority that will soon be the largest in the country. And all the power that that portends. 1978. Here we are today. I don't think we're very much farther than that, right, Max? And here we go now. Our good friend Edward James Olmos up there. July of 1988, right before I graduated from law school. Magnifico, Hispanic culture breaks out of the barrio. Well, where do we go? I don't know. Break out? Are we in jail? What is it? We're still trying to break out. Because the way we break out is not just in the arts, although that's important. We need to break out in politics. Because if you look at the number of elected officials we have now as Mexicans, we have a balance of trade problem in this city and in this state. But then the following decade, Time magazine, again, fall of 1993, the new face of America. Recognize that? Looks like a lot of the folks in this room. Maybe it is the new face, but that new face is not voting. So we don't see faces like that representing us in Congress like they should be, in the city council like they should be, in the 5th floor of City Hall like maybe one day they will. But one day, the next decade, June of 2001, this is a cool one, Amexica. Welcome to Amexica. See what's happening on the border. It's amazing. And come see how it's changing the world. You know, that could be today, right? That's 13 years ago. We're still waiting for that world to change. Time magazine, maybe this was the psychic issue. Maybe one day it'll happen. And of course, the one we all remember from recent times, Yo Decido. Why Latinos will pick the next president. You could say why Mexicans will, because again, the largest share of population in this country are Mexicans. Yet we're not voting at the rate we should. We're not registering at the rate we should. And even those of us that are registered, we don't come out and vote like we should. Yet we go see the movies overrepresenting our population. But we don't vote overrepresenting our population. But here, why Latinos will pick the next president. They got it right. We did pick the next president. What we failed to do was to also pick the next Congress. Because without the Congress and the president, we could throw our agenda in the garbage. So what we need to do is become much more sophisticated about our political involvement, much more sophisticated about who we support and how we support them. Because we want people elected, but we don't want anybody elected. Let me hold the, here we go. And for my last trick, we don't just want anybody elected. We don't just want to see a brown face or a Mexican face up there. We want to see someone that's going to do something about it. Someone who's not going to be beholden to the powers that be. Someone that is truly independent. Not just says they're independent and then still has to rely on the power structure to stay there or the power structure to keep them from taking them out. We need real leadership so that we don't have a bunch of clones that are representing us in the community who, when they are told by their master, oh, we want you to do this instead of helping your community, and they'll listen to that. So, or when they want, I'll just keep that person right in my pocket. We need real independence. We don't need these toys. Right, Max? Why don't we give them away? I'll keep the Darth Vader, actually. I forgot to tell you he's going to throw. Did you sign waivers of liability? I hope so. So as you can see, we've come a long way. And Max throws a long way. But we have a long way to go. Ooh, what did you do, mijo? Okay. This isn't on TV, right? We have a long way to go, but we're going to get there. Because it is in coming together like we're coming together here and elsewhere in this country where we're going to talk about the power that we truly have, that force that is really within our community, and map out how we will ultimately come back and take control of opportunities that have been slipping out of our hands for decades. So thank you for being here tonight, and I'm looking forward to hearing everyone else, and I'm sure you are too. Thank you.